All right, welcome back to another video on the 55, some more fabrication. So, if you guys remember the fabrication I did on this radiator support, kind of had a idiot moment when we were ordering the radiator. I was because we had bought a V8 core support for this car, because I didn't think the Pontiac stuck out that much further in the front than a small block, but I kind of forgot about the whole water pump timing cover and all that different stuff sticking out. So that's why we flipped it back around like a 6-cylinder. And obviously you guys saw in the last video, if you haven't, go watch it. We had the radiator mounted up and working. So when we ordered it, I'm like, oh yeah, we want the V8 one. Because in my head, it's like, oh, we have a V8 in it. We need the V8 core support. But that puts the radiator on the front side, and we couldn't even, it didn't even fit between the water pump and the core support. So now we got that radiator in. It's a V8 radiator, and it won't mount up the way it needs to do, or the way it needs to, sorry. So I think what I'm going to do is, since this upper core support is beat to hell, as you can see, it's actually twisted too. So I think what I'm going to do is, I got some bar stock here that's the same size. I think we're going to take this from right here, and you can tell how buckled it is everywhere. I mean, this thing has definitely been tweaked on a few times, but I think we're going to cut this off here, and we might reuse some of it, or I'll just use this bar stock. We will see. And I'm going to fab up a new upper portion. I don't know if I'm going to like kick it out and then bring it back, or go up and over the top, but I think I'd rather bring it back over like this and then back. We will see. I know it seems like we could just send it back and get the right one, but I'm worried. I guess we could call and see if they have any in stock and just send it back, but at this point we got it, and it was my stupid mistake. I own up to it, but that top core support piece kind of looks like garbage anyway, and why not do some more fabrication? We got some time, we got the material, make for some good content. And that way, if any of you guys have a V8 radiator at home and want to make this kind of setup work, you can. Not a lot of people are probably going to do it, but hey, why not? We'll go ahead and get this thing cut out. That way I can mount the radiator where I want it, and then see where I need to fab. So, all right, well, let's get to it. So during the time lapse, obviously we're getting that top piece, or had it cut out. Can't remember, whatever. Anyway, the lower baffle wouldn't work with this radiator where I wanted it to sit, so kind of had to knock it back out of the way. And then this aluminum radiator kind of runs into the bottom radius. So I did have to come in here and notch these just a little bit on each side, just to give it room. But overall, it's pretty good. Now I don't know, it's looking pretty tight for the pulley and fan. So I'm gonna have to run down and get a water pump pulley and the fan, see what we're working with space-wise. We may just have to run a little shroud and an E-fan on this thing, which we're gonna have wiring for that stuff anyway. But yeah, that being said, that's pretty much where we're at. Got it mounted, and I really don't want to make a top support yet for this core support. Just in case I got to do some more modifications. So for now, we're going to leave it there, and we're going to mock up a manual, or just a regular manual fan and pulley real quick. I have to run down and find what we got laying around for that, and then that'll kind of lead me the direction I need to go next with finishing this core support out. Okay, left off kind of showing you guys we were modifying the core support for this V8 style radiator. And I'll kind of catch you up with my thought process. So it's actually not been a bad thing that we got the V8 radiator. So when I cut out that center support, it's actually giving me a lot more room for adjustments, being that this isn't obviously a small block Chevy in this car. So the fan stuff isn't going to line up exactly how it would for a small block. And I think this is going to work out better, which we still may run a shroud with electric fans. We're just not 100% just yet. So figured I'll go ahead and show you guys where I'm at in my thought process here. So we got the bottom notched and clearanced for this new radiator. And I just made some little end cap pieces to go in here, cap this stuff off, make it look a lot cleaner. And then I really don't think there's any need for top support because, for one, this radiator I only have one bolt in it just for now. But this thing is like freaking rock solid, and that'll just make life a lot easier with clearance and adjustments and things like that. I may add one down the road, but for now I think we'll just cap these off and remount the radiator, and that way we can figure out a fan situation as well as get the correct upper and lower hose we need. So as for now, let's go ahead and weld these little end caps in, and we'll remount the radiator, and I think we'll call this good for now, and we'll move on to that runner on the header to clear the steering arm and cut it, move it however we need to, and that'll be some of the last bit of major fabrication minus the linkage for the clutch. So we're getting there. So let's go ahead and get these welded in and we'll move on. All right, went ahead and got those finished up, as you could see in the time lapse. So they are all welded in and ready to rock. I think I'm going to smooth them out real quick before I get the radiator reinstalled. And then once that is done, I believe this core support will be ready to be removed and completely either blasted or wire wheeled and painted. So we'll go ahead and smooth those out, and I'll probably show you that when I'm done, and then we'll be ready to move on to that header tube. Okay, back from lunch, and went ahead and tossed the radiator back in it. Got everything smoothed out. So turned out pretty nice. Pretty happy with it. And like I said, we're not 100% sure. We got to get a pulley and a manual fan to see if I need to raise the radiator up a little bit, or to see if we're going to run electric fans or both. Just not 100%, but I'm at least as far along as I need to be for now until we make that decision. And I did go ahead and start on the header, but not very much. I went ahead and put the starter in it, marked where the bottom of the starter is, because I don't want to move that header pipe so far over you can't get the starter out. But I can get the starter out between the oil pan, engine mount, and over the top of the center link. So I should be able to move that over. If you look down in there, it's hard to see. Let me see if I can get it to focus down in there. It's going to be a little difficult. Yeah, you can't really see down in there. You can kind of see those marks if you look down through the center, right to the left of the box there. I marked where the pitman arm's hitting it, so that way I know exactly where as high as I can go and as low as I need to go. So I'm going to get under, make some paint marks, and be sure I'm 100% on where I want to cut and move this thing. And then I'm going to take the bolts out, slide the header back out, and make those cuts, move that pipe over. And if I have to tack it in place, I will. And then I'll mock it back up, turn the car, and see if we can actually steer the car left, and see if I have to make any further modifications, like a dimple, as well as moving the pipe over, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm going to do all that stuff, and I'll take you guys along with me. That way we know what the heck's going on. All right, left off showing you guys we're getting started on modifying the header to clear the factory steering arm. And being I've never really done this kind of fabrication before, I mean, done stuff similar. I didn't really film a whole lot, but I'll kind of show you where I'm at, give you a little update. So basically what we did is we had to start somewhere, and you can't steer the car left at all. You can basically hold the wheel straight. Anytime you turn left, the pitman arm would run into the driver's side front primary pipe. So what we did is we went ahead and cut a section out of the way. That way we could steer it. And when you'd steer it all the way left, that tube would dump right over the top of the pitman arm. So what I did is cut a section off up here by the Headman decal. Cut that out. I rotated this pipe to where I knew it would point between the, it's hard to see down in there, but between the starter and the pitman arm. And then once I did that, I brought it backwards towards the secondary and added a 2.5 inch piece right there. And then just threw a couple tacks on this thing to hold it together where I wanted it. And I was mounting it up in between just to make sure nothing was moving. And now I've got it sitting exactly how I want. So now we have this little section right here to fill in. And the reason this cut right here is so poor is I thought I could make a slit down there in the beginning and pie cut it and roll it out of the way, and it wasn't having it. So, but luckily that's why we got welders. And then, so basically, once I fill this piece in, we should be good, because this part right here dumps right between the pitman arm. When it's fully turned left, comes up to about right there, and then the starter is right in there. So I got this leftover little pipe right here that I cut off previously. So we'll be able to section that back in. And then I have some extra material that I'm going to use to pie cut and make some other pieces. That way I can actually make it smooth and fill it in. So just wanted to give you guys an update on where I was at with it, since I hadn't really filmed the process of it, because I've just needed to focus and not be trying to film in between doing all this stuff. So hopefully I'll get this last piece made, tack it in place, and then we'll show you guys how it fits. Okay, we made another cut, some grinds, some tweaks, and we got this little lower section put in. So here we are at full lock, turn to the left. Here's the first deal we made, and then as you can see down there, see if we can focus in on it, there's the pitman arm at full left lock, and it is clearing the pitman arm, as you can see, and clearing the starter. So we'll take you guys under here and show you what I got. So here's the last little corner pie cut section I got to make. And here it is from this angle here. And from this side here. If I can worm my way under here. So just got one little corner left to make, and we clear the starter. And we may be running a mini starter anyway, but even if we don't, we got a little bit of room and enough to put some heat wrap in there, keep the starter protected. And I may even dimple that pipe just a little bit. But just got to make this last little angled section there, and we will be good to go. So we'll go ahead and get on making that last little section and get that knocked out. Saw in the time lapse, got everything final welded. So from where we left off on the clip prior, I showed you the little section I had to pie cut in. So I made that piece, got it slipped up underneath there, got it fit, made sure everything was still clearing, tack welded it in, made sure it was solid, and also then pulled it back out and final welded it. But what I wanted to say is whenever you're doing this, be sure you fully bolt your header in. That way the flange is seated all the way across the block, or the head, I'm sorry. And that way nothing's, because those do, you know, lightly move a little bit. So just make sure those are all squared up when you go to do your welding. But anyway, we got everything clearing, which is cool. So we're at full lock to the left. And if you look down in there at the pitman arm, I know I showed it once before, but it's all clearing down there, and we're clearing down here as well. So nothing's in the way. And let's show you the clearance on the arm itself, which, as you can see here, we got, I don't know, probably 1/8 of an inch. And then we got a little less than that on the starter. Kind of see it right there. It's clearing, but I might dimple that in by the starter just a little bit. That way we can heat wrap it and keep the starter protected. And we may run a mini starter, which will gain us a lot of clearance as well, and then still be able to heat wrap that pipe, and it should be fine. So I'm not sure what route we're going to go when we do that. But yeah, as far as the header goes, they are done. And I might smooth some of the welds out. I'm not 100%. I mean, these aren't stainless headers. I'm no TIG welder. You know, did it the way I know how to do it, and it works for us. So they're ready to be painted. Got to strip that protective coating off and then get them done. And the core support is obviously ready to be blasted or stripped and painted as well. And then we're still not certain. I think we're going to do a manual fan, and we still may do electric as well, but I think we're going to go manual. So that ties up 2 big fabrication parts for this car. The last thing left is to get the clutch working. So we'll need to get the rest of the linkage and modify all that to make the clutch work, which we need a flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing, and all that mumbo jumbo to be able to make the clutch functional. That way when we do get the linkage all working, we can get it adjusted and functioning properly. So, but I think that's going to do it for this video, getting that header modified to work with the factory steering and pitman arm, and the core support all finished out. So now that leaves getting the car wired, which is ready for the front end to go on it, so we can terminate the ends for the headlights, turn signals / marker lights. And the back is ready to be finished up as well. And I'll show you a little bit more. I don't know if we saw this yet, but gauge cluster is all wired up and ready to go. And tail lights are all finished up as well. So everything's ready to be thrown together. And the reason we haven't yet is because we're going to use some weather pack connectors for some of the connections due to moisture, water, and all that stuff you get from driving. So yeah, wiring should be finished up soon. We got the rear wheels done. We're ready to have the slicks remounted over onto those. So hopefully in the next video, you guys will see some of the wiring get finished, as well as the new wheels and the slicks get put on. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this kind of helped you out. If any of you guys are wanting to do any form of engine swap in these, you know, not to be scared to cut up a new set of headers to make them work. It was pretty fun. So yeah, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video.